Good evening, mga kalaro, and welcome to the Council of Titos, the show on the Laro-Laro lang channel that talks about a different kind of game. The reality TV game show and social experiment that has run for 25 years. Survivor. I'm Chief Bisdak, and with me, as always, is Juxtapotito Jao Atienza. What's up, Jao? How are you doing?
I can't help but notice that you have such a dashing new shirt.
Dashing
Spiffy,
new
spiffy.
spiffy new shirt I got from an out-of-town trip. I went to Fiji. No, that's a joke. I went to another island and came back with this new shirt, and all I got from it was this new shirt. Anyway, tonight we are going to give our thoughts about season 48, episode 7, entitled Survivor Smack Talk. But before we begin, do consider hitting the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you get updated whenever we come up with new episodes on this channel. And for those of you who just want to hear our soothing voices and don't want to have to look at our mugs while we talk Survivor, you can go to wherever you
Survivor.
get you can go to wherever you get your podcasts and search for Council of Titos. And so, without further ado, let's begin. General thoughts about this episode. Survivor Smack Talk. Did it live up to its title?
Uh, this episode is divisive. I think this episode,
Mm-hmm.
like the sort of reaction that I'm kind of seeing is that it's quite a divisive episode,
How
and
so?
it is. You know how a couple of like seasons ago we were talking about the dichotomy between fans of the game and fans of the show.
Yeah.
This was an episode where I feel like if you are purely a fan of the game, this wasn't a great episode at all
Mm-hmm.
because the boot was whatever,
Yeah.
all that, like it wasn't exciting really, right? But if you're a fan of the show, this was one of the best of the new era, or at the
Mm-hmm.
very least, the best of the season,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
purely on
Why?
the basis of that, purely on the basis of that challenge.
Oh, okay, okay. And the
Right.
competition, the entire thing, or just the how it turned out between who was it who called it the Rock and Captain America?
It's the what's it the moment of Shaheen scoring it,
Oh, okay.
the sort of survivor's hard, get off
Mm-hmm.
the couch,
Mm-hmm.
and like cutting straight into that. Like, this is one of the best produced shows. Like, you know is there an Emmy for best editing or whatever? This best episode editing. If there's an Emmy for it, this should win the Emmy.
You think that it could get nominated or it should get nominated for that?
Yeah, should. It does all of the cool things, like taking our expectations and kind of flipping them on their head, or sort of playing with the format a little bit while at the same
Mm-hmm.
time sticking to the format. We've seen, yeah, we've seen that they um get music from some of the stuff that like the cast does, right? With Tevin and what was
Shan was or is that what
oh
you're
yeah,
referring?
yeah, not Sham, but Tevin and the other girl from his tribe, right? When they were doing that Survivor song. And yeah,
Oh yeah
Shan
yeah
with
yeah
the with the Shan theme as well.
yeah.
Because whenever I think Tevin, for whatever reason, I also think Venus. Like
Mm-hmm.
I find that they take up the same like headspace, right? So um but I can like imagine that. I can imagine that girl, and Tevin, right? When they had that little gospel song going,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that, but then like it wasn't as funny as this. I think, right? Like earlier, it was cool. It was cool. This was this was funny. This was how do we put this? When we were in college, we were students of theater of the absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this kind of has some of the hallmarks of the type of humor that I think, our theater group at the time would have enjoyed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sort of breaking the fourth wall while
Yeah.
somewhat staying within the conventions of the format, that kind of thing. Using the conventions of the format in new and unexpected ways.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. So it's more around the interaction of Jeff and the Eliminated that makes you appreciate this as a show, as an
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. When it comes to the fan of the game, fan of the show dichotomy
Mm-hmm.
um that we like talked about back in the day, I find myself leaning more towards being a fan of the show. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm going to be a horrible Survivor player. Um, so the gameplay aspect of it is something that is in service to the show, at
Mm.
least in my mind. Whereas I think somebody that is the opposite of me um, would look at the show as being something that highlights the gameplay,
Mm-hmm. All right. I get you.
right?
I get you. Yeah.
So, you know, one of them is more, uh, let's say one of them is more um, reality as reality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like the type of person that prefers that show alone, whereas you know Survivor is Survivor. It's a produced show, and I enjoy that.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I do understand where you're coming from, what your points, but yeah, for me, it wasn't aside from that particular moment, it wasn't a particularly amazing episode. I mean, yeah, you said it. The votes were sort of okay. It was expected. They were the easy votes, right?
Yeah.
And then even even the supposed what do they call it? The standoff or face off uh, between The Rock and Captain America. I mean, you we sort of already knew that David had that in the bag because
Yeah.
all the way from the start it was so easy for him. And
Yeah.
despite Joe being such a also a specimen, a physical specimen, we could see his struggle with keeping it, with staying in it. Yeah, in the rest of the episode, there wasn't really anything that stood out to me. Yeah, but outside of that moment, yeah,
Yeah.
those moments where Jeff and Shaheen, yes, that was the highlight of the episode for me. Shaheen suddenly breaking so much so that they kept going back to it. I thought at first that Shaheen had kept on singing his music, but then again, as I rewatched it, I kept seeing okay, they're reusing the same clip of Shaheen just singing that one line,
Yeah.
right?
So like I said, this is probably one of the best produced
Yeah,
episodes that they've done for the new era,
yeah.
at the very least. And that's saying a lot because their production has really stepped up in the
Hmm.
new era. So
Yeah, we've commended their production, especially in the new era, several times on Council of Titos.
surely more than several, at least eight.
So if seven is several, what is eight?
Uh, so yeah, there we go. Fan of the show, fan of the game.
Hmm.
That sort of dichotomy, and I think that's where we see a split, right? Because like
Mm.
every episode will have its detractors, and every episode, especially in the new era, for whatever reason, is kind of divisive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with this one, I think that's where we can observe the difference in opinion and where it comes from. At least that's my theory.
Mm. Well, as
Yeah.
a series though, I do appreciate how they finally paid off storylines that they had started a couple of episodes ago,
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely.
How Say has been painted as this castaway who really has no awareness of her place in the game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all throughout, and all throughout this episode, she kept on thinking, oh, yeah, she kept on saying, bragging to the point of bragging. I'm the cat with 9 lives. I'm the cat with 9 lives. Yada yada yada. These guys are
Yeah.
so. Even though she should be, she should be worried about her place in the game. All of a sudden, I mean, she says that, oh, I'm not worried. These guys are just obsessed with me. Yada yada yada. So we had that, and we had it paid. Get it. It pays off in this episode where she's finally, well, to a certain degree, she finally gets voted off, despite the fact that she thinks that she's a cat with 9 lives. But the payoff is muddled a bit because she still thinks that it's only because they're obsessed with her,
Yeah.
and there was no there was no reflection as to why she got to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Cedric, who for the past couple of episodes has been the paranoia has slowly been creeping on Cedric. He's been failing at challenges. He's had to get a lot of pep talks from fellow castaways, from tribe mates, and then when that one stray vote from Say goes to Cedric, that just amps up his paranoia, and yeah, that sort of made made him uh less wanting to reach out to others, and that proved to be his downfall in this episode. I believe. Right.
Yeah. And you're talking about the storytelling and the giving production their flowers. That's what this podcast should be. We should
Mm.
be the Council of Titos giving Survivor production their flowers because that's
Yeah.
all we do.
Yeah.
Um, what was it like from the very beginning? We've seen that Say and Cedric have been kind of connected
Mm-hmm.
to each other by the hips. A sort of Harry Potter Voldemort sort of Ray Kylo Ren Force dyad kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
going on. Like one needs to be with the other, yin yang,
Oh, and all of
whatever.
that.
Yeah, I wish I wish I had more. Um, but unfortunately, we are recording first thing in the morning, so I'm not quite there yet. Um, we'll just later on we say, well, it's actually
Well,
like
yeah.
4 p.m. here. Um, we are whenever you want us to be, dear listeners. Uh,
Exactly.
um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, their stories are sort of tied to each other, right from the very beginning, and production did a really great job of showing us that to the point that I feel like kind of an idiot not putting two and two together, or Say and Cedric together, and kind of figuring out that they were setting us up for them to be the double boot,
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
right? Because when you look at it like in retrospect,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that. It's like an M Night movie. I
Mm-hmm.
never try to pronounce his last name, but like when you think about it, you're like,
Shamalamalama.
yeah, uh, I
For the sake of having his face, in the mentioned portion of our video, it's M Night Shyamalan. So yeah, there you go.
so it's like when we watch that movie with Bruce Willis, right?
Hmm.
We like look back on what happened. We're like, oh my god, yeah,
Yeah.
it totally makes sense. I should have seen it coming, yet I didn't.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I felt when after watching the episode and thinking about it for a little bit.
Hmm.
I felt like this was a twist, quote unquote,
Hmm.
a plant, I guess, or a twist. I'll call it a twist, even though really it isn't a twist. If we're being technical about storytelling and all of that sort of thing, worthy of like an M Night movie.
Mm.
I may be exaggerating. That's my thing. I like to exaggerate.
Speaking of M Night, yeah, the whole main character syndrome of Say, that was there. I mean, the entire time. Again, she thinks that everyone's just obsessed with her. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The whole theme of them being tied together, their stories being tied together. Uh, a lot of it is say just having a lot of grievances towards Cedric, and that probably causing Cedric some anguish to the point that he becomes paranoid. And then it was that one vote from Say that causes Cedric's paranoia to like jump 500 times. Right, so it was bound to happen that they were really the way that their stories unfolded was gonna be connected, right? Yeah.
Even though like it's really interesting, right? Because like Shay felt more connected to Mary.
Yeah.
But that's not, even though that's what she felt, that's not what the show gave us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, this is our like hashtag edited show, right? Because, that's what the show gave us. And yeah, again, giving production their
Yeah.
flowers. Just keep talking.
No, I'm gonna wait for you, man. Oh,
Here you
there
go,
you're
production.
giving the flowers. Yeah, there you go. Okay, there you go. Well, also one thing that we Cedric has over Say is that he gets to stay. Does Say get to stay in Ponderosa? Given
No,
the fact that right, so
no, she flies home.
right. She flies home right away. She doesn't even get to stay in Ponderosa. At least Cedric gets to stay in Ponderosa, and he has a say in the final outcome. Pun intended. Say won't have one, right?
There was a talking point, right? One of the talking points was, um, if if uh if say we're part of the second tribal, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it was two tribals. One, the first one was with say, and then um the second one was the one what was the Cedric boot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the thoughts that's out there is that if say we're part of the second tribal and therefore had a chance of being at the jury, Mitch would have been the vote
Oh, because they don't want. Why though? I mean,
because
inevitably. Oh, but they don't want Say to be the mayor of Ponderosa.
because so the theory goes, um, people will feel comfortable bringing Say to the end as a goat
Oh, yeah, I got you. I got
because
you.
she, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, maybe it's the hunger, maybe it's just a clash of personalities or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
like she hasn't been as like her social game wasn't as spot on
Mm-hmm.
as say somebody like Mitch
Mm.
or surely like the rest of the strong
Yeah,
five or whatever
the strong group, the strong
yeah,
group alliance.
they call
That's an
themselves the strong five, right? I think that's a
yeah,
really dumb name, but
yeah.
you
Uh, I call them the strong group alliance because there's actually a company here with that name.
okay. I wanted to call them the milkmen, but
Yeah.
that's only two of them. That's the
Yeah.
pair. It's only the pair of them, and like the milk people or the milk crew doesn't sound as cool as the milkmen. Um, so so yeah, there was that idea that like Say isn't making a very good impression with the rest of the tribe, which makes her an ideal candidate to
Mm-hmm.
sort of drag to the end as a goat because people probably won't vote for her um on that basis.
Mm-hmm.
So
She,
like yeah,
in that sense, she kind of struck me as like an Emily kind of castaway.
yes,
But Emily, she had what was the name of that guy? Who she had that
Caleb,
guy Caleb who was able to mentor her into coming up with a redemption arc.
yeah,
Cedric
and
could have been that guy for Say, but it's just that Say has such a strong personality, and again, main character syndrome. I will pilot my own ship. I'll be the captain of my
yeah.
own ship, and I will sink with it, right? And she didn't want to hear any feedback, and yeah, it's for that reason that she never got the redemption arc. She could have been the Emily of this season.
Say for Survivor 50.
All right. So you're thinking that she might be. I don't know. I don't know if she had a big enough impression on the show to warrant getting another invitation. Yeah.
But there could be an argument for like a second chances kind of thing. Like
Oh.
she's one of those players that I think if there was a second chance, three,
Mm-hmm.
four, I don't remember how many second chance seasons there were. Um, she she could be like a candidate for that. Uh, Probably not an all stars.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not an all stars. That would go. That would be somebody like Shan or
Mm.
that would be like your Shans and Ricards of the world. Um, yeah, she would be okay for like I think sort of second chances.
Along with your Carolines, your Emilys.
Yeah, yeah, Emily I think would be a great pick for second chance. I think Carolyn would
Oh,
be
she'd be
great
an all
in an
star.
all stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think Cass from Jesse's season
Mm-hmm.
would be a candidate for a second chances.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's crazy that I called it Jesse's season and not Gabler's season.
Yeah, because I mean it was Jesse's season, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Gabler, we did have that record breaking challenge.
I take
Uh
issue with this. I
why?
take issue with this because the challenge isn't determined by the winner. The challenge is determined by the second place.
What do you mean?
Because who
What?
knows, man? Gabler could have gone for 3 hours. It's just that whoever
Oh,
dropped
yeah, yeah,
out
yeah, yeah,
before
yeah, yeah,
him,
yeah. That's true. That's true. Because
right?
who was it who dropped out right before him? Noel?
Maybe.
Uh yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah,
Because yeah, that's true. That's true because there was no one else to fight against. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
So if anything, the person that should be commended for quote breaking the record is Joe
Mm, mm,
because he was able to last longer than whoever Gabler was like up against.
That's a thought. That's a thought. That's a very valid thought. Should they consider it as part of that challenge record? Mm, that's
I
a
mean,
thought.
yeah, of course, you have to do that. It's one of those things where like it's a data point, right? We like data.
Mm.
People like data. They like little fun facts. Fun fact: the fastest fire was I don't know, was her name Heidi? Maybe I don't remember who the fastest fire
Mm,
was. The fastest fire ever. Even though the conditions were completely different. So there's that caveat. Even Jeff himself says that there's a caveat there because they don't have the same supplies all of the time,
mm-hmm,
and allegedly they make it harder for making fire now. They don't supply them with all of the materials that they need to practice and all of that before the fire making challenge. That way, you don't get another like super quick like fire in 5 seconds or whatever because we're so well practiced like that.
mm-hmm,
That's not supposed to happen anymore. So every like fire record, I guess, should have like a little footnote in the same way that I think these should have a footnote. They count as records, but they're footnoted.
mm-hmm.
Like this was because Joe was able to last longer. This is because whoever was able to last longer.
Yeah.
Um, I remember that in the last season, it was Charlie, right? It was Charlie that did well on the hold on to something because he practiced grip strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So he totally could have beaten
You
David.
probably. Well,
And just
really? You think so?
I guess it depends on who lost more weight. I don't think Charlie lost that much weight. But then
Mm.
again, like how much weight do you lose if you're like a muscular dude that goes out on
Exactly. I mean,
Survivor?
I don't know, right? Because he probably didn't have that much body fat to lose,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. So
25%, he probably was like, I don't know, he probably was around the same weight. And he was probably like benching or I don't know, more than that, a whole lot more than that. I mean, you could
yeah.
see it. I mean, with the way that he was being cocky about it, right? The way he was being cocky about it was so obvious that David was okay with everything. Meanwhile, you've got Joe. He had to do the whole mantra of saying, spelling out the name of I don't know the first kid, and then just saying Joseph for the second one. So was that what he was doing? Jaydn Joseph. Jaydn
he was
Joseph.
he was doing a Gabler. He was channeling the alley Gabler. He was totally channeling the alley Gabler. That was such a good challenge, man. Like when I sent Martin, or when I messaged Martin, that was the
Mm.
thing that I said. Like, not to spoil anything, just don't go to the bathroom during the challenge because we know that like Martin's bathroom break is the challenge. So like don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nevertheless, it was one other thing that got highlighted for me in that challenge was the fact that say as soon as she dropped her, I'm just piling on say, as soon as he dropped her that the thing the weight, the first thing that she said, peanut butter. All right, she's like thinking, oh no, I'm not gonna get to eat peanut butter. And then soon as and when Joe finally gives out, she goes ahead and says peanut butter again, and she kept on looking at Joe, trying to figure out what happened, as if she was putting blame on Joe for not being able to win it for their group. Like I don't know, it's such a it's I don't know, it's not a sore loser. It's like it's someone who okay, this is my metaphor, and also so that he can come out in our mention. He's like LeBron James, right? LeBron
Okay.
James who he's like LeBron James who starts spouting because someone else couldn't deliver for him, right? Right? We us. I don't consider myself a LeBron hater. I just notice. I mean, I respect his skills or his back then, but nowadays all he does is like okay, he expects his teammates to deliver, and then when he doesn't get to deliver, he suddenly shouts at his teammates or he pins the blame on his teammates because they didn't get to deliver as a team. Right? That was the same attitude I was getting from Say after that challenge. And I don't know. It's something that she will need to improve. Let's put it at that.
So
Yeah.
now we know where you fall on the who is the greatest of all time
Of course.
debate. It's Dr. J.
It's Dr. J. Andy Howe from the Philippines. No, it's the Big J, Robert Jaworski.
But yeah,
But yeah,
I can kind of see that, right? This was not a very flattering episode for heck.
mm,
This was not a very flattering season for her,
season.
dude.
Mm,
Like, oh,
mm.
I feel like Charity was given more charity than say.
Yeah.
But hey, what can I say?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of yeah, just the first time I noticed it, there was like a moment where like Shaheen was looking straight forward. I think that this was even before he started that song,
Mm.
and he sort of looks like Shia LaBeouf. Just a random thought that went through my head while I was watching it again. We're like, looks like Shia LaBeouf, especially with the when he made all of those. What were those? The gifs or the videos? And
Mm.
do it, just
Yeah,
do it. Looks exactly like him. He's like a Shia LaBeouf with a glorious beard.
yeah. You're strolling through the woods.
Yeah. So we've had Tom Holland. We've
There's no one
had
around,
Andrew
and out of your
Garfield.
phone, he's dead. And out of the corner of your eye, you spot him, Shia LaBeouf. He's following you about 30 feet back. Sorry, I really like that song.
But yeah, we've had yeah we like I said we've had Andrew Garfield. We've had Tom Holland. We don't get Toby Maguire. We get Shia LaBeouf.
Uh, I really like Shia LaBeouf though.
Yeah,
He's like he's so entertaining, and he
exactly.
was so game for that Rob Cantor song. Uh, yeah, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. Like he was so game for that. Anyway, enough enough about Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf.
Wait,
So
wait. I
so
have
what?
a question for you. I have a question for you. Was this the first time that they did the split tribe like this, where they were? Yeah, it was right. Where there were two guys with two people with immunities, and then the rest were all vulnerable. This was.
They've done this before, right? Where and it also culminated with one person not being in the jury and one
Mhm.
person being the other person
Mm.
being in the jury.
Yeah,
I, I,
my memory sucks. So yeah.
yeah, but I can't remember exactly which season, but I know that this has happened before, and they were all making quite a big deal out of, oh yeah, making the jury, not making the jury, etc., etc. Um, but like I mentioned earlier, this time it was actually, well, actually, it was probably a consideration, right,
Mhm.
in the way that the vote went.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the other time, I don't remember. I remember them paying lip service to being first, as being some sort of great advantage, but like and how it changes the outcome of things. But like now we actually get to see jury management um explicitly sort of referred to,
Mhm.
in the sense that, like, yeah, we're gonna take Say out because she's not gonna be in the jury. We don't want that
Yeah.
sort of chaotic energy in the jury, right? Like that's something that we don't get to see, that sort of manipulation of the jury, through gameplay. um it isn't Australian Survivor. Like
Mm.
there was that one advantage in Heroes versus Villains 2 or whatever, where like one of the advantages was like you get to kick a member off of the jury.
Oh, there was that. There was. I don't. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't
yeah,
remember that. Again, my memory sucks.
yeah. There was a season of Australian Survivor where that was one of the advantages that they could win. You get to knock somebody off of the jury, so you know, uh,
Mm.
I can see that being relevant. That could have been a relevant thing here.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
But since they don't have it in Survivor US, so they just take her out first.
Yeah. Props to Mitch. Just got to say, props to Mitch for using the steal a
Mm.
vote
Block a vote.
or rather, the block a vote in a pretty cool way to block the shot in the dark,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because like you need a vote for the shot in the dark, so Say couldn't do anything about it.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm sure that she would have gone for the shot in the dark if she had a vote. She wouldn't have voted, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, she knew
and
that she was in the bottom. She knew that she didn't make any headway with anyone. She was gonna use that. Yeah.
yeah, and next in the pecking order was Mitch. So like,
Mm.
props to him for playing that. Um, he gets to survive one more day. So I guess we have to ask the question: is Mitch screwed next time on Survivor?
Well,
Um,
well,
is
based
is
on the next
he?
time on that we did see it, the action didn't seem to revolve around him.
Yeah, it's all around Dave. Um, but like, it's another one of those questions. Like for the situations of Mitch and Mary, right?
Mm.
The people who are shown to us to be on the outs. Um, like, is the optimal gameplay move for the others to just kick them out or to take them in as numbers because they're stragglers, right? The
Mm-hmm.
One of those eternal kind of questions of Survivor that have no actual answer, you
Mm.
know?
Well, if the strong group or the strong alliance is to be believed, then they're gonna be voted out. But then again, you've got the whole Kyle and Camilla thing going on,
Yeah,
where they don't really, they're not. I mean, Kyle isn't really 100% with the strong alliance, so they might just put that together. They tried to put together the what do you call this, a blind side on Shaheen, right? But it didn't come out
yeah,
to anything. Yeah.
yeah. And that was a really good attempt, I think.
Mm.
um, because it was subtle. It was subtle. They didn't outright say that he has an idol. They found a way to imply that
Mm.
he has an idol, while at the same time not really saying anything. Because they might they can always say like, yeah, I perceived that. Perception might not necessarily be what actually is. It's just what was going through my head at the time. I'm sorry, Shahina was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that. It wasn't a clear like, hey, Shaheen has an idol.
Yeah.
It's one of those like you lead people up to the point where they can kind of make it feel like it's their idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of mm, mm, mm. Oh God, it's one of my favorite. Is probably my favorite player of the season. Camilla is my favorite player of the season.
Mm. Really?
Yep.
She
Yeah.
hasn't been making. I mean, outside, but her gameplay though is sort of it's so connected to Kyle's. I mean, she needs Kyle. Her moves have been in coordination with Kyle.
Yeah.
I haven't
But when
seen
you
her
hear,
like do it do things on her own yet.
but when you hear her in confessional, you see how her brain is working,
Mm.
and that's what I appreciate. You know, um, she's my favorite game player.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily playing the best game.
Mm-hmm.
There was a case to be made for Shaheen being, the person playing the best game, or indeed like Joe, because his confessionals are also, like nobody's gonna vote for Mitch, or everybody's gonna vote for Mitch, but like
Mm.
you can see that he's thinking about the game.
Yeah.
But in terms of the sort of gameplay that I'm appreciating this season, it's Camilla, but Star is still
Mm-hmm.
Star is still my girl.
No, we didn't get a lot from Star this episode though. But yeah, I was gonna say Star's gameplay is at the very least from the past episodes. Pretty good. We're just probably just seeing, okay, so for this episode it's Camilla, who's getting
Yeah,
a brief exposure. Last episode it was a lot of Star, right?
yeah. You mentioned that Star had a winner quote.
Yeah.
I submit that this episode she also had something reinforcing that, her final three quote. Like, I don't want to make the jury, I want to make the final three.
Hmm.
She had that line, like, I don't want to make the jury, that's for suckers or something. I want to
Hmm.
make the final three. So there, we're getting some foreshadowing. She is at
Yeah.
least going to make it to the final three.
Yeah, and it goes back to your whole thing about saying something about, if we, now that we know that Save got voted out this episode, everything else preceding it makes sense, and I think that is the point. That is the kind of storytelling that Survivor is trying to do, right? The who done it,
Yeah,
right? When you find out who did it or who won it in the end, everything else that they do prior makes sense. That's why Gabler's win was so out of the blue, because he was so underwater. He was so much of an alligator. Nobody really
yeah,
saw what he did, right?
yeah. And I,
And
I still maintain, and I know that the internet
mhm.
is going to disagree with me on this. I still maintain that was the that was a stroke of genius on the part of Survivor production. Again,
Flowers.
flowers, right? Like, the theme for Ali Gabler's win was he is the Ali Gabler.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? They bury him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, that's so cool.
Yeah,
You know
it was so on
that's
brand.
yeah. It's sort of like but it's sort of like that Leonard Cohen song, Hallelujah. It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift.
Mm,
You're looking at like the F, the G, and
yeah, yeah,
it's like they're saying what they're doing, and it's so cool.
yeah. So yeah, that's what. But it
Sorry,
is why it's
sorry, internet.
divisive. Yeah, well, I do agree with you. He was my winner pick, but then again, I just chose him off of like one image that I saw of him with mud in his face. Uh, but yeah, the way that it unfolded was really good. Was really good. The storytelling there was really on point. It's also Survivor subverting the expectations of viewers, because viewers are so used to seeing all of these breadcrumbs
Yeah.
here and there, and yeah, they had the winner. They hid the winner
And
uh,
those were the
in plain sight.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
Those
the
were
fact
the
that we
bread.
weren't seeing him, and the fact that he was talking about it that way, right?
Yeah, it's well, it's also a little bit of bias on my part, right? Because they did the same thing to who I think is the greatest Survivor winner of all time,
Who is it?
Erica.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They did the same thing with Erica,
hmm
where she played an under the radar game, so they edited her to be under the radar.
hmm
They're saying what they're doing. They're doing what they're saying.
yeah. So yeah, props to Survivor. That is what this show has evolved into, giving Survivor production their props. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Uh,
Anything else stood out to you?
yeah. What do you think about Chrissy's little tirade?
Oh, about which one in Tribal? About how her making the case that honest and loyal are just not the Survivor way to play.
Yeah.
That one. Uh,
Yeah.
I do agree that that is a point of view that you can take,
Mm,
and yeah, we've seen it how those who play it with honor and with noble intentions, they haven't really gotten far in Survivor.
mm,
And if we make it evidence based, yes, the evidence may point towards Chrissy being correct. But then again, who's to say that honesty and loyalty, uh, well, it hasn't been proven yet. I don't know if we've ever had one, if we've ever had an honest and loyal player who actually won the game, right?
JT.
Oh well, yeah, JT. Okay, so one out of how many? 50, 48. That's like less than 2%, right? So yeah, so we have that, but yeah, the evidence points towards you have to backstab, and it has to be because it's contained within the game. But I do also see the point, and I it's refreshing to me to see people like David and Joe and Eva wanting to win this game with honesty, with with good and honest gameplay, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
Well,
I can't fault Chrissy for wanting to use dishonesty, for wanting to use the sneaky factor, because that is what she's left with.
mm,
She was right. She was right. Well, the weaker castaways will just get picked off one by one by the stronger castaways.
there was I remember seeing somebody mention that one way to interpret the idea of like loyalty and honesty and all of that in Survivor is you play an honest and loyal game with your alliance,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else like no, they're not part of your alliance, so you don't owe them any sort of honesty, loyalty, and honor. And maybe like that's sort of the space for both points of view to kind of coexist uh in Survivor, right? Where you can play an honest, loyal game, just not with everybody.
Mm.
And then once all that's left is your alliance, then the gloves come off.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
also that perspective. There's also that point of view. But as a gameplay move, do you think she tanked her game?
Uh, I I don't think that several the others, because I mean, in the eyes of players like Joe, David, Eva, she's already expendable, right?
Hmm.
Because she's not part of the strong alliance. Uh, Kyle might see her as a possible number, more so,
Mm.
right? She might be that, because Kyle is, despite the fact that he is in the strong alliance, and even Shaheen maybe. We put a note on that, right? That Shaheen and Kyle are actually, yes, they're part of the strong alliance, but they do not live. We don't think that they live by the same principles as David, Joe, and Eva. Those three are the ones who are like ride or die. We have to
Yeah.
be honest. We have to be noble, right? But Shaheen, gears are working in his head. Kyle, we've seen it several times throughout the season. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think that she tanked her game. Chrissy tanked her game. I think that she just showed herself to be okay. She's willing to work. She's willing. She's not willing to just get strung along, right? Get brought to the end. She will fight, and she will fight. She will find a way to fight for it.
Ooh. So
And yeah,
so what we're saying is, if we look at Eva, David, and Joe, and Joe as sort of like on the top of the pecking order of the Milk People Alliance, and
milk per.
Milk Purrs, right? Um, and they view each other as the final three. The the folks on the bottom of the pecking order, basically, Kyle, Shaheen, together with Kamilla,
Mhm.
are at some point before any of them get taken out, are pulling in Chrissy
Yeah, there's a lot
as a
more. Yeah,
number to,
you've
yeah,
got Mitch, you've got Mary, you've got Chrissy in the bottom, right?
yeah, and then we have Star that's gonna win.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
Star comes out, rises out of the back, takes her place in the skies. Right? Because
God, I really want Star to win.
Star is sort of in the middle of it all. I mean, her weakness is water, but she's supposedly athletic. She's a basketball player. But yeah, you've got yeah,
God,
yeah. It's
her,
great. It's interesting. The makeup of this tribe right now is actually pretty interesting, because you've got a group that yes, supposedly they are in power, but their place on top is actually precarious, and it will depend on how aware they are of the precariousness of their position on top, and they make moves in order to secure their position,
hmm,
in order for them to stay on top, right? But they will need the precariousness of their position is because you've got players like Kyle and Shaheen who aren't 100% with them. They're also working the game.
yeah. They understand that they're not the final three.
Mm.
They're not part of the final three plans of David, Joe, and Eva.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And just it just is on this side, right? Tying it back to an earlier thing that we mentioned in this particular Council of Titos episode. Star is like Bruce Willis's character in that movie Unbreakable. Her
Ooh.
weakness is water.
She's actually a hobbit, because apparently hobbits, when they go in the water they sink.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. So does God, what was the name
So
of
does a rock.
yeah. What was the name of Bruce Willis's character in
Oh yeah, yeah,
Unbreakable?
yeah,
Was
yeah.
it Unbreakable?
That was his
His superhero
superhero
name was
character.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because like the only one that I really remember was Samuel L. Jackson as
Yeah.
Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how many of them show up on the bottom of this video as people mentioned.
Is there a maximum? Is there a
I don't know. I've
maximum?
only ever seen like five or six at the most.
Oh, okay. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway,
Yeah.
well, whose line is it actually isn't really that exciting for this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff already said it. We saw it in the next time on, and then we also saw in the next time on we heard at the very least who's going to say the next title, which is a rift between all of us. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my
So,
guy Joe.
uh,
Oh,
so now we,
yeah,
yeah.
we go to what it should have been. So, what should it have been, Joe?
I'm gonna be boring and say that it was something that Mitch said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a pivotal moment, or
Ooh.
or we could also go for Survivor's Hard apply now or whatever whatever it was that led into
Mm-hmm.
the mid challenge promo of Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the two, one of the two,
Mm.
because I think they both kind of capture what Survivor is sort of trying to go for, right? Like this is a pivotal moment, like the rest of your game depends on this, blah 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 blah
Mm.
blah. Whoever is first is not going to be part of like the jury, blah blah. But then at the other, but by the same token, they also kind of want to say, hey, Survivor's hard, get off the
Mm.
couch, um, and then the little URL shows up on the bottom. Uh,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I'm going with a funny one, and it is Shaheen's song.
Oh, WAKA, CNO, MAKA.
That's what the title should have been.
That was my first instinct, and I think I might have called it that you were gonna have that.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, you went serious. I'm gonna go funny. But in truth, I didn't have a serious what it could have been, what it should have been. Yeah.
And just for the sake of uh the titles of
Mm.
our
Of our
for the
episodes.
titles of our Council of Titos episodes, I'm gonna go for Survivor's Hard.
Mm.
Yeah. And you're
All
gonna
right.
go for the for the lyrics to
Yeah.
Shaheen's.
Oh, WAKA, CNO, MAKA.
So
Yeah.
that's what's gonna show up on the bottom of the YouTube video.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like Council of Titos, and that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
right. And since I handle the podcast, I'm going to have it as Survivor's Hard.
Survivor's hard. All
There we
right.
go.
There we go. Moving on to Survivors of the Week. Who is your castaway of the week?
I mean, it's got to be David, right?
Mm. Yeah.
But then I'm just gonna say Joe because he was the one that actually set the record.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is David. He is. Oh, I have here the note. He's a more handsome Jonathan Young. He is the beast of this season, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There is also a case to be made for Mary being the castaway of the week
Mm,
because
why
she
so?
is the last surviving member of Vula.
Bula. You're right. You're right.
Our girl Mary is, the last surviving member of Vula. So
Hmm. So in a way, she already is a survivor.
yeah, basically, she is the sole survivor
Hmm.
of Vula.
Go to the week. Who do you have for go to the week?
I was thinking Chrissy
Ooh.
because of her tirade
Hmm. Hmm.
in in tribal council, which might have put a fairly negative like spotlight onto her.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the other option for me was Mitch
Hmm.
for simply being on the bottom, but that is something that he can use to his advantage, right?
Mm.
And I think he has a better shot at using it to his advantage than Chrissy has at using blowing up at tribal to her advantage because that can be viewed as a little bit of a liability. Like who knows what she's gonna do? That's kind of the reason they made sure that Say wasn't on the jury. Kind of
Yeah.
loose cannon energy, right? So like that's why I'm not sure that Chrissy has as good a shot of kind of clawing her way out of that as say somebody like Mitch.
Hmm. Yeah. I have.
Yeah.
I understand what your point of view. For me, it was really hard for me to do this. I didn't really notice anyone who gave me goat like characteristics, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, forced to pick. I picked two actually. It's Kyle and Kamilla. They did try
Ooh.
to. Yeah, they tried to do
Oh yeah.
something. Yeah, they tried to mount an attack on Shaheen. It didn't take effect. It was good, but it just wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was because they were talking to David. I don't know. It didn't really take root. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And also I had this feeling that production probably just put something there to make the vote a little more exciting than it actually was, right?
Yeah,
For their group, yeah, because their group, I mean, it was clear as day that it was going to be Cedric,
for
and
sure.
production was like, let's throw a little controversy, right? We have
Yeah,
some footage of Kyle and Camilla starting to do something. They might continue to do it for the next episodes. Who knows? But yeah, for this episode,
yeah,
it failed.
yeah.
And last, we've got Purple of the Week. Who's your Purple of the Week?
Can I say David's body weight because I don't think he lost any. Like he probably has an empty bucket up there.
Mm-hmm. And then the conspiracy theories start that yeah, they wanted David to win that. He didn't have anything in the bucket. He was just holding a bucket of air. But
Yeah,
yeah,
who knows? He probably gained weight on there, building muscle, like building the shelter and stuff. So they probably like cut out part of the bucket
dude, he was
because
drink. He probably lost some weight because he hasn't been drinking milk. He's been drinking water, right?
oh yeah, they had the reward. They
Yeah.
had the reward. He probably made up for all of that lost milk
Milk
by
weight.
like yeah. They had the reward with milk. He probably that's why Joe lost because like he didn't get as much milk as
Hmm. He
David.
didn't his he didn't get his 2 gallons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there, that's my purple of the week, man. There's probably no weight in that bucket because he didn't lose any weight. He kept all of his muscle.
Hmm. Hmm. That's true. That's
Yes.
true. Yeah. For me, and I think that this contributes to what you said earlier. My purple of the week is actually Mary. Because because she kept herself in the dark for the entire actually for this entire merge. She hasn't been really doing anything. She hasn't been saying a lot. And aside from that reaction to Shohin, when Shohin started singing
Oh, Waka, CNO Maka.
and she had that knee jerk reaction to it, laughing, we didn't really
Yeah,
see anything from Mary in this episode.
yeah, that's
So yeah,
true. So like a more serious purple of the
yeah,
week this time.
yeah. I had the funny what should have been. You had the more serious one. So for purple of the week, yeah, mine is a more serious one versus the more amusing one.
Yeah. Uh, we could have totally like made some joke about Cedric as well, like his challenge performance.
No, it dropped. Would like to get Zebra on the board. Grab it! Still working for Orange. Orange is squandering their lead. Now hold on to that. Left in your reserve.
Was the purple of the episode of purple of the season
The
thus far.
season, the season, man. All of the challenges he hardly contributed. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
and
he
yeah,
won
yeah,
a single challenge, right?
he's better off in the. Yeah, I assume he's like one of the he's a surgeon, right?
I'm sure he has like amazing touch. Like he would have
Mm-mm.
done really well on one of those fine motor skill, like balance this ball
Mm.
on like the one from the Sunday night episode of Australian Survivor that
Mm.
that
The one that
that
Miles
jungle
won.
rat one. Yeah, let's go. I haven't seen the finale yet. This could be like really bad, but go jungle rat. Like something like that. I think Cedric would have done so
Yeah,
well at because like that's exactly the sort of thing that he's trained to do. Like the hands of surgeons
but
you
yeah,
know
we haven't had any of those yet. And all of a sudden, for the next episode, that's exactly what they're gonna do. Something that
Oh
needs a lot of
man.
fine motor skills.
And
And then
great
they talk
hand-eye
about it.
coordination. Like,
Yeah, they talk about it in tribal, and then Cedric's like, "What? I could have won a challenge."
uh, yeah, it's like one of those sort of wrong place, wrong time
Yeah,
situations for Cedric, I guess. Uh, yeah. Another one of his stories was and this is, you know, kind of interesting. Uh and Jeff Probst has actually said this about him. His story is something like, how are we going to how is this person that is not used to losing react to like
adversity.
losing and
Yeah.
adversity and all of that, because like Cedric is somebody that's winning at life,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. For all intents and purposes, he might not even really need the $1 million, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's probably like you know, if he made it to the end, he'd probably like donate it all to like Gabler's charity or something, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and we sort of did see it. I mean, he failed time and again in challenges, right?
yeah,
The one where he had to work with his teammate to bring that buoy to the other side. He couldn't do it, and then the
yeah,
whole thing with the bouncing ball, and then the whole
yeah.
thing with the climbing up the wall. I need to do a montage of all of those things.
We have, and you know, that's part of also what made the Star moment so great,
Mm.
right? Because it was, you know, Star and Cedric, and it was after Star. It was after Star's talk that I think you know how you have that trope of the manic pixie dream girl, right? Like that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of Star to Cedric in a way, where Cedric kind of accepted who he was
Mm-hmm.
after, you know, after talking to Zoe Deschanel in the
Mm-hmm.
form of like Star to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I don't know, that was supposedly one of the things that they were looking at for his arc. Like, here's somebody that is winning at life. How is
Mm-hmm.
he going to take not doing too well on Survivor?
Oh, that's interesting.
And how is he going to bounce back from it?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he didn't get the opportunity to. Right.
Well, yeah, he didn't get the opportunity to. There was this basketball movie when I was a kid that that like right at the very end, the main character team lost. They
Okay.
lost the game, but they
They won
realized
in
they had
life.
won life. Like one of those triumph of the human spirit type things. And I think that's kind of what they were going for with Cedric.
They yeah. They didn't quite show it though. Well, if not unless we count the post tribal, the post vote confessional that he gave, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Didn't
Yeah. So
really. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that's what they were trying to. I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
they were going for. You know, I think they did the best that they could.
Yeah.
Again, right? Here we go. Wait, one more. One more.
So
Because
yeah.
because we keep on talking about giving them their flowers. I was only giving them one, so here's like two. That way, it's like plural. Anyway,
So yeah. Yeah, Cedric, he never got to redeem himself in challenges, but yeah, well, he will. He is the mayor of Ponderosa. That's one thing that he's got going for him, moving forward.
yeah.
And then
Oh, it would be
he
so cool if he was like the deciding vote. If he was the
exactly.
deciding vote, I'm like, oh my
I
god!
mean,
And he gives it to,
that redeems everything, and he gives it to Star.
and he gives it to Star.
Ooh.
There. There we go. Survivor scripted. Jeff, hire me.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Any final thoughts? Any other thoughts outside of that one?
No,
Yeah.
that's uh, that's about it.
All right. And that is it for tonight's episode. We would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like button so we don't get voted off the channel. At any rate, this has been Joel Parkon.
Flowers. I'm Zhao. I'm Zhao.
Yeah,
Juxtapotito with two flowers
yeah,
juxtaposed
there you go.
against each other.
Yeah. We hope to see you on the console
This
again
looks like
soon.
this bear looks like it has a straw going up its butt. Maybe it needs like Cedrek.
Until then, until the next time, mga kalaro, stay safe. The Titos have spoken.